The proving arena stretched before Commander Casey Brooks like a coliseum carved from obsidian. 63 alien species occupied the observation decks, their attention fixed on the massive enclosure below. Casey stood alone at the platform's edge, aware of every skeptical gaze upon her. High Warden Zelkrath of the Thorian Dominion rose from his command seat. His species had maintained control of the Ravagers for 8 centuries, breeding them into perfect killing machines. The creatures were apex predators from a death world, each standing 4 meters tall with crystalline fangs that could pierce dura steel. Human, Zelkrath's voice boomed through translation matrices. You claim authority over the Ravagers. This council demands demonstration. These beasts have answered to Thorian handlers since before your world achieved spaceflight. Casey met his 4-eyed stare calmly. Below, 30 adult Ravagers prowled the arena floor, their scales reflecting the harsh lighting like broken glass. In a sheltered alcove, 6 cubs tumbled together, already large enough to threaten most species. I don't claim authority, Casey said quietly. I claim partnership. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Several delegates activated emergency protocols, certain they'd witnessed a translation error. Partnership. Zelkrath's mandibles clicked with amusement. You speak of weapons as equals? I speak of people as people, Casey replied. She stepped off the platform. The 12-meter drop ended with her rolling smoothly across the arena floor. She rose, brushing dust from her unmarked uniform, and turned to face the nearest pack. 7 Ravagers approached, led by a battle-scarred male the Thorians had designated Unit 7 Alpha. His scales bore the marks of 100 conflicts. Hot breath steamed from his nostrils as he closed the distance, each step deliberate and predatory. Casey didn't move, didn't reach for the plasma pistol at her hip. She simply waited as the massive predator lowered his head until they were eye to eye. She raised one hand slowly and placed it against his scarred snout. Hello, Ashenclaw, she whispered. The Ravager's black eyes softened. A deep rumbling emerged from his chest. Not a growl, but something gentler. Recognition. His packmates pressed forward, surrounding Casey in a circle of scaled bodies and careful movements. Trickery, Zelkrath called down. Chemical manipulation. Neural conditioning. Casey moved through the pack, touching each creature, murmuring words the council couldn't hear. She traced old wounds, scratched behind crystalline earplates, received gentle headbutts that would have shattered stone. You want proof of leadership? Casey looked up at the observation decks. She walked to the arena's center. All 30 Ravagers followed. From her pocket, she withdrew a small carved flute. It looked absurdly primitive compared to the Thorian control devices, neural implants, and pain compliance systems. Casey brought the flute to her lips. No sound emerged that the aliens could detect, but the Ravagers responded instantly. 30 apex predators flowed into formation with military precision, forming 3 perfect hunting phalanxes that spanned the arena floor. The observation decks erupted in chaos. The serpent formation was considered the ultimate display of Ravager coordination. Thorian handlers required decades and extensive neural surgery to achieve such precision. Casey crossed the arena toward the cubs. The largest, a young female with bright amber eyes, bounded toward her with awkward enthusiasm. Ember, Casey said warmly, kneeling as the cub crashed into her. The other cubs swarmed forward, creating a tumbling mass of scales and playful growls around the human. Zelkrath descended rapidly, his composure shattered. Explain this, he demanded, gesturing at the perfect formations and the cubs treating Casey like pack family. Your people use fear, Casey said, scratching Ember's chin as the cubs settled in her lap. Neural shock collars, chemical dependency, pain compliance. You break them until they obey. She stood, Ember clambering onto her shoulders. I spent 6 years with the wild packs on Karis 4. I learned their language, not just vocalizations, but body signals, scent communication, pack hierarchy. I became pack before I ever gave a single command. Impossible, Zelkrath breathed. Wild Ravagers kill everything they encounter. They kill threats, Casey corrected. I wasn't a threat. I was patient. She walked along the front line. Each massive predator tracked her movement but held position. I know that Ashenclaw fears enclosed spaces because of his first hunt. I know that Shadowmane prefers hunting at dawn. I know that Ember loves the sound of rain on metal. She turned to face the council. I know their names, their families, their dreams. And because I know them, they trust me. Not because I forced them, because they chose to. Casey brought the flute to her lips again. A different melody. The formations dissolved as 30 Ravagers surged forward. Council members activated shields, certain they were witnessing an execution. But the creatures didn't attack. They gathered around Casey, forming a protective circle. Ember chirped from her shoulder while Ashenclaw stood directly beside the human, positioned defensively. This is partnership, Casey called up. Not control. Not domination. Trust earned through respect. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, the eldest member, a crystalline entity thousands of years old, spoke. The council recognizes Casey Brooks of Earth as prime handler of the Ravagers. Furthermore, we authorize human integration into all predator management programs. Casey bowed her head. Around her, the Ravagers settled, content now that their chosen leader had been acknowledged. Ember purred against her neck. Zelkrath approached slowly, his earlier hostility replaced by confused respect. I would learn these methods, he said carefully. Of course, Casey replied. But first you need to learn their names. All of them, and what makes each one laugh. Laugh! Zelkrath's mandibles spread with uncertainty. Casey smiled. Come on, I'll introduce you properly. As she led him toward the waiting pack, Ember still perched on her shoulders and 30 massive predators following peacefully behind. The council watched in silence. The human had succeeded not through strength or technology, but through the one quality that made her species unique, the ability to see people in everyone they met.